Welcome to last episode, fresh off Ellen Civil War. Today we're gonna continue that thing. What? Well, firstly, the Cossack just upped out of the war. Both governments signed separate peace treaties, these being the Rostov Peace Treaty and the Astrakhan Peace Treaty. This area that they occupied is quickly claimed by the communists, but the real area of control is, of course, by the militias and armies of these two sides. The provisional government or empire or regency council just so for sure, or the whites are going to move in into here. The communists, which are way more focused on the civil war, start rebellions in modern-day Turkmenistan, and these rebellions will be spread over this river, which quickly moves into Astrakhan, into Tashkent, and Samarkand, Bukhara, and more. With most of Turkmenistan now being captured, and this is a massive defeat for the whites. These rebels will stabilize along this line. Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan and some parts of Kazakhstan are under communist control. While over here, the Trans-Siberian Railway is trying to be is here. So it's somewhere here, and the communists are planning to infiltrate it. This can only happen because of a train station. Let's see somewhere over here. The train moves. They stop at the station, but they need to be captured and the red team. I'm sorry, the reds need to capture it before the whites can realize. So they captured the train and hijack it. They move back the train and start occupying the areas near the Trans-Siberian Railway. Yeah. With the Trans-Siberian Railway now being captured by the communists, Japan intervenes. With the massive possessions in Asia, and they don't control China. They currently control occupied areas over here. And these coastal territories. With the rest being the Chinese United Front. The communists quickly move in and start moving towards Vladivostok. While many Ukrainians are protesting, that doesn't mean anything, as the Russians do a last-ditch offensive on the areas that the Reds have captured, leading to this massive encirclement. But the Reds still control a significant 100,000 troops, and the way we could basically just steppe areas are left, and Central Asia is basically alone. Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan are just ignored by the Soviets. As you can see. And they are basically they solidify this line. With the Siberian plains becoming and secure part of the communists and Tajikists. This causes the collapse of the Russian provisional government and the end of the Russian Civil War. And as you can see, we have this. We have minor areas in Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. While over here we see the Russian provisional government collapse. Some Saksa revolutionaries declare independence and form the Saksa Republic. While the Giants, this includes and Buratian guerrilla rebels from their own country. In this area being one of the this area, I don't know what this area is. They're gonna be part of the Japanese-funded Far Eastern Republic. The Americans really don't like this, so they just create a rival. So they then the Magadhan Republic. So yeah, we have 4 warlord states: Buratia, Saksa, Far East, and Magadan. For now, we could just ignore these warlord states and look what happened in Europe. Firstly, the French have been struggling incredibly with the way higher starving. They only have one choice, and that is to move into Italy. The French decide to launch an invasion of the southern Italian country, encircling it, and then conquering these areas. This being their only military success, as they got kicked out of the Netherlands and the Rhine might actually collapse. This small area between the Rhine and the Danube gets quickly conquered by the Germans, and France is about to lose. But they have one thing to save them. That is the Russians. The Russians led by a military-based dictatorship under Zhukov and Trotsky. Although this is a military dictatorship, it's a communist military dictatorship. So it's just military-based, it's hyper-militaristic, and they quickly move a bunch of troops, numbering in the millions, and march into these territories. Ukraine gets pounded. That same with Lithuania, Latvia, and the rest, and the Estonians. So yeah, Ukrainians also get capitulated, and the troops start moving near Carpatho, Ukraine. With the Poles seeing massive losses here they ask one country for help. That for basically just aid. that being the Habsburgs. The Habsburgs would really just, then by the Habsburgs, I mean the Hungarian Habsburgs. These two areas are split into not rival, but two cousins, or yeah, brothers. With Croatia being under the control of the Habsburg line, and this being controlled under another Habsburg line. In Germany with its German kingdoms and such. But the Germans are vassals of the Freikorps. I'm sorry, the German monarchs are basically just figureheads by this point, with basically nothing to do, as the Freikorps control the Reichstag and basically everything. With the only monarchy being able to hold power is Prussia, and that is just in their own territories. And the only reason is that is because of their isolationism. The isolationist Poles really start. I'm sorry, the isolationist Prussians really start defending their territories, and are doing it way more successful than the naturally isolationist Poles. Now, so Poles might lose these areas, but this is where it stabilizes with many agrarian with many anarchists here, Cossacks, Ukrainian nationalists, forming an anti-communist band, starting the Ukrainian revolt. This also includes an Soviet politician, the chairman, which is basically the same, Joseph Stalin, making similar things, but since they are involved, the whole of the war is way weaker, plus it's in the 1940s. The Ukrainian revolt is inspiring many rural revolts over and eventually takeovers in Estonia, some areas in eastern Latvia, and these areas in Lithuania, and some in Belarus even. With the Russian East becoming a battlefield of guerrillas, the French line is looking to collapse. The French have only one thing that could theoretically save them, and that is if they lead the line to the Soviet Union. And how could they do a line? Well, firstly, they need visa. Firstly, they actually need to do this. They move into Italy, or maybe just invade Serbia outright. After that, move into Bulgaria or even Romania or Hungary. With Hungary's is more axis aligned, and it's more likely Hungary than Romania, then Ukraine to help the Soviets. And the French do exactly that, moving into this northern Italian republic, marching an army and declaring war on Hungary. They quickly move into Hungary, same with a naval invasion in Ragusa, landing a bunch of troops there. And the French, with many Italian communists actually, start aiding, as the French see the German government as a failure, so they'll promise that they will return Tyrol to the Italians and the Dalmatia, as the Italians are way more loyal as the Germans, not moral loyal. Why did I get both of them confused? I don't know. So yeah, this offensive moves into Romania, but this is where the army extends, And since they have to allocate a lot of resources for this, they are starving, with British aid, a new mass offensive begins. The north of France is now captured, and France looks to fall. But they are able to survive a bit, with South Normandy being reclaimed. And with that,